These are all photos I've taken over the last 2 weeks. Would you believe me if I told you I shot all of these on my phone? I sure hope so. Because I did. I shot and edited every photo you just saw on this Google Pixel 7a. I bought it a few months ago because my old phone was starting to slow down on me. I didn't get the 7 or 7 Pro because I'm broke, and I dropped my phone way too much to justify spending anything beyond what I paid for this quote-unquote budget option. I ditched Motorola for a Pixel because I wanted to see if the hype surrounding the Google cameras was real, and because, once again, I'm too broke to switch to Apple. When I first got it, I was impressed. It's quick and responsive, surprisingly durable, and the camera quality is great. There was only one problem, though. My photos still sucked, and I found myself doing what I've always done. I blamed it on my gear. I came up with a million excuses. It doesn't have enough dynamic range. I don't have enough control over the settings. It's not the Pro model, which is kind of funny, because I made a lot of the same excuses when I couldn't get the results I wanted using this. The OG Sony a7, the first Pro camera I ever bought way back in high school. If you look on Instagram, you can see that both the 7a and the a7 are both very capable cameras. So clearly the issue has never been the gear. The problem is me. I came to this harsh realization roughly 2 weeks ago, and instead of running away from the issue, I decided to challenge myself and do what any budding content creator would do: turn my self-improvement journey into a long-form series that I can milk for views. I call it Trying to Suck Less at Phone Photography, or TT Slap for short. I've been at it for about 2 weeks now, and while I've yet to sell my soul for YouTube clout, I'm happy with how the photos have turned out so far. If you're interested, you can check them out in the playlist in the description below. This is one of what I hope will be many long-form TT Slap updates, where I ramble, ruminate, and alliterate as I reflect on the different photos I've made and the lessons I've learned along the way. Lesson number 1 really has nothing to do with the series, but it's been on my mind, so here we go. Meritocracy is a lie. Swiftly moving on to lesson number 2. Work to your gear's strengths and hide its limitations. This is super obvious, but then again,
I'm a dumbass.
Now this varies based on the phone you have, but for me, the 7a does a really stellar job at rendering colors and capturing an impressive amount of data in the highlights, midtones, and shadows. And because it's a phone with a flat lens, you can get some weird angles that you physically couldn't with a dedicated camera. But it's limited by
digital
zoom, so if you want detail, you have to get up close and personal with your subject, which for me included a big-ass spider. I'm probably asking for too much, but sometimes the minimum focus distance feels a little short, so I can't get as close up as I'd like to. My only other big gripe is that if I want full control over all the camera settings, I'm probably going to have to pay for some shady third-party app, and I'm not about to do that. So long exposures are kind of a crapshoot for me. If you look closely at the photos I've made so far, you'll notice that I'm leaning heavily into abstract and detail shots. That's not an accident. If you look at my actual work portfolio, which, by the way, I am currently looking for work, so please do share it around. Link in the description. You'll notice I'm more of a photojournalist than an artist. Problem is, my life's currently in a weird limbo. I'm applying for jobs during the day and burning the midnight oil on this YouTube stuff. So in other words, my life is boring. I stay at home most of the time, and even if I do leave the house, I live in Milwaukee, my dudes. I hate to break it to you, but there ain't much to see here. And because I don't have time to hit the streets and try to be the visual storyteller I aspire to be, I have to focus on the things that catch my eye in my day-to-day life. Fleeting moments that I wouldn't normally pull out my camera to photograph. Like this photo of cracked asphalt in the China Buffet parking lot. Or this photo of light casting a shadow on my aunt's garage. Or this one of a silicone bowl cover thing. I have to approach photography a little differently these days, because I'm not traveling to beautiful vistas every day, and I'm using a phone. I'm highlighting strengths and hiding limitations, not by focusing on the things I don't have, but by doing the most with what's in front of me. And I found that focusing on light, shadow, color, and shape can make for some pretty neat images. That said, shooting the photo is only the first step when it comes to phone photography, which leads me into my third and final realization for this update. Editing is where the magic happens. I used to think people on the gram just had crazy phones that spat out gorgeous images, and that's probably somewhat true. But I learned from trial and error and from hearing some refreshingly transparent photographers explain their photo processing process that, surprise, surprise, editing is where your photo comes to life. A lot of the time, your phone spits out an image that's great for most people who just want to quickly capture a moment, post it online, and be done with it. But for people like you and I who take this stuff a little too seriously, it can feel a bit clinical, which I suppose is true, even if you're shooting a proper mirrorless DSLR, Micro Four Thirds, or film camera, which, if that's your aesthetic, then this is where you slap on an ungodly amount of grain. Which is a joke rooted in a very real truth, that many people do add grain to their images, especially images shot on phones, to add texture to an otherwise clean image. I'll admit, I'm guilty of this too.
Police! Police! Help! Police! Help!
When you manipulate a photo, I guess you're kind of making it your own. You're taking an image that anybody could have shot and modifying it, or in some cases completely mutilating it until it fits the image you have in your mind. This is why you need to shoot raw and get good software that allows you to make all the edits your creative heart desires. I've personally been putting my overpriced Adobe subscription to use in Lightroom Mobile, but you could use something free like Snapseed, which I've used in the past with great results. Most photogs won't show you their raw files, but I'm not most photogs. I'm willing to admit I'm trash. This is what my photos started as and how they turned out. Because of my background, I normally go for a minimal, true-to-life editing style. But for this series, I'm trying to push myself, so I've allowed myself to get more creative, like you see here with this Visco Girl-esque shot. If this looks or sounds like a lot of unnecessary work for a tool that's supposed to make the photo-making process easier and quicker, you're right. And you have a good head on your shoulders, and I envy you. I'm stubborn, and I can't in good conscience publish a photo that I'm not at least 99% happy with, regardless of what it was shot on. So that's why I spend way too much time editing. But please don't take this as me telling you that you have to do anything I've talked about today. These are just lessons I've learned so far on my 100-day photo journey, that I fully intend on seeing through to the end, by the way. If you're down to follow along, subscribe to get notified of all future TT Slap videos. And I encourage you to take this challenge with me. It's simple. Take a photo you're proud of every day for as long as you can commit to. And who knows? You might just surprise yourself. Take care, my friends. Peace.